a good night to you, Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. Those of you listening locally, regionally, and internationally, we're saying a special good night to each and every one of you. It is Talking Points, Talking Tuesdays. And we're not sticking tonight. You see, 8 o'clock, we start 8. Call your friends, call your family, tell them it's time to sign in. Yeah, it's time to come on. We're doing outside still. Time to come inside. Yeah. Our guest is already online with us, so time to come in, time to come in, time to come in. Yeah. Say we're not sticking tonight, so come on, you've all got to get in. Call your friends, call your family. Talking Points is on, and we have a very, very special guest on with us tonight. Come on. As I said, we're not sticking. And folks, we're not sticking tonight. Come on, let me just see the numbers go up quickly. We say a special good night to the listeners joining us via 91.9, 91.5 Real FM. Those of you joining us via 89.5, 93.9 and 93.3 We FM. Good night to you, Brother Mitchie. We hope you're having a wonderful night tonight. And as I said, we have our guest online with us. Let me just get the audio there. Dr. Mitchell, a special good night to you, sir.
Good night, Sheldon. Good night, and of course, good night to your listeners throughout the length and breadth of this beautiful country of ours.
And folks, we are speaking with the former Prime Minister, leader of the New National Party, and also leader of His Majesty's Opposition, Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell. Dr. Mitchell, how has your day been today? I know it's been a scorcher, a very hot one today.
Well, fortunately for us, I think we saw for the first time for weeks, we saw a little bit of rain in some parts of the country, so that's cooled down the temperature a bit. So that was not a bad day in terms of the heat, which we've been experiencing a lot of recently.
Yeah, I think that's the first rain we probably saw in Grenada since February or early March that we got today. And
not enough to bring water.
Yeah, it's I had to be up until 2 o'clock this morning filling water because it's coming very low and so on. So we had that issue. So Dr. Mitchell, also tomorrow there are going to be 1,707 young ladies and young gentlemen who will be writing their exams, as we used to call it back in the days, the common entrance. I think they say CPEA now. So they'll be writing their exams. You also have the ones at secondary school who are already into their CXC exams. What would you suggest to them? You being a scholar, a former teacher, but I don't like to say former teacher anymore because I think you're still teaching. I don't think you ever left the profession. I believe you're still teaching.
You're right in some extent.
Yes, indeed.
You're right. Well, no, I just want to take this opportunity to wish these young brothers and sisters the best in this first trial at an examination of a national nature. Sheldon, I remember when I did, what we had then was scholarship to secondary school. There's very few scholarships. It was only about 11, 10 or 12, I think, under 12 scholarships. So I remember sitting that exam at Heinze School in St. George's, and it was a touchy time for me at that age. So I knew for the young people, this must be a very touchy time for all of them. So I want to wish them all the best, and of course, and to wish their families also the best going forward.
Yes, indeed. And Dr. Mitchell, an interesting time in the state of Grenada outside of the heat wave that we've been experiencing, the lack of water and all of that. We also been seeing other things happening with the economy, the inflation that's taking place, the crime. We're seeing various things. your overall view on where Grenada is at this point in time. We're just a few weeks away from 2 years in office of the present administration. A general statement on where you believe Grenada is at this time.
Well, I think people are wondering what is taking place in our country at this time. When you compare where the country was almost 2 years ago compared to what they're seeing today, is quite a contrast. It is a tough one for almost everyone. I was in St. George's today and talking to a few business persons, and they are in shock. They're asking me what I think is responsible for this tremendous drop in activities in general. And it's just a malaise situation taking over the country as far as economic activity is concerned. And so, and it's been felt across the board at all sectors of the society. So it's a worrying situation. That clearly the the lack of job opportunities has certainly has increased this malaise in every sense. The young people are demoralized in many respects, given where they were with the enormous opportunities that the government then in 2020, before 2022 or 2023, implemented so many different programs and gave them hope, and initiatives were taken to help the young people as the different strata of the society. And therefore, with that loss of opportunities, you've seen some things occur in our country today that you have never seen before. So that's a general problem confronting the country that must worry all and sundry. The stores are complaining they're not making any money. Some people are talking about they have to pay increased wages to people that they work with them, but the sales and economic activity has dropped. So in some cases they're laying off staff. So it is not necessarily a positive thing to have to increase wage and then lay off people at the same time. So it is a problem, and therefore we need to do something to get this economy going, because if we don't, then we'll see more crime, more social decadence in the country in a general sense, and it must worry every single one person in the country, whether you're whatever political affiliation you are. It must be very concerning to all of us what is taking place in our country. Well, we know the situation with crime. It has been a major problem. You wonder what is that. Every day you're hearing about some gun incident and the shooting of individuals and killing of individuals, the hanging of persons in the country at all. Every day you're hearing something, whether it's the holding up of places, business places. Persons are wondering what the hell is taking place. They've never seen this. And what is a bit probably more disheartening, Sheldon, is the fact that you're not hearing a word from those persons who are supposed to be in charge of the country, and that is probably a major factor. Instead of that, you're seeing people, and the people in the leadership level, they're enjoying themselves, they're partying, they're having fun, they're traveling to places and doing things that they seem to be having their own time, while the country seems to be falling apart. And you have to be concerned. Every one of us should be concerned about this. We have this serious problem facing the country also, the water shortage. The Minister of Works is responsible for water, the Nawasa institution, and he's also responsible for security. And in the height of two major crises in both these areas, the minister takes off to some conference in some faraway country. What could be more important than the safety and peace and the basic services for your people? What conference could be so vital? In fact, I understand it's something related to finance. It seems to me that the Minister of Finance should have been the one attending such conference, while the person responsible for security and water remain in the country to provide some hope and guidance, hopefully so. So it is almost a abdication of fundamental responsibility, and it is very concerning to all and sundry. So I have great difficulty with it, and I'm being questioned and asking questions wherever I go. People wonder what the hell is taking place, and so therefore we have to sing the warning bell, because if we don't, and if this thing doesn't turn around, we'll continue to see further decay and more violence in the country as a whole. And that's something that would can affect all of us in the country.
Now, Dr. Mitchell, you mentioned several things there, and I want to take them one by one. The first one is the issue of crime. What is your assessment of the present state of the Royal Grenada Police Force? We've been hearing, in fact, I myself, even yesterday, was meeting an officer who I know has over 20 years service within the service, and he told me, well, he left. He just couldn't take it anymore. He left. He's doing a job out there. He's doing his own private thing. I saw others in various capacities working other places. Many officers that I know have left. What is your present assessment of the state of the Royal Grenada Police Force?
The statement I would make about the force, I could make it about several other areas. The government of the day came in at the time that there was an atmosphere of peace and stability in the country. We had a police force that were generally run properly, and there was an atmosphere of calm in a general sense. A number of police officers may have felt that they needed more opportunities and they should have been promoted, and so on. There were that element, and a number of people voted against the government then, hoping that the present government will come in and do something to satisfy their situation individually and so on. But they have been seriously shocked that the government came in and it started using politics as an arm of interference in the police force in the country, and that's the worst thing you can do. The security of a country must not appear to be interfered with on a partisan level. You had a commissioner of police, and that was operating in the country. That many of my own supporters didn't feel that the commissioner was supportive, but I don't believe a commissioner has to be supportive of a political party to operate in the job as commissioner. If he or she is protecting the state, and that is and protecting the citizens of the country. But there was this fake thing about sickness of the commissioner of police, and so on, and the removal of the commissioner of police, and at the same time the transfer of key officers, competent officers, capable officers. And no, in most cases, I don't think people could put a label on these people politically, but because they were not perceived to be playing this political game to those who coming to office, they were summarily transferred, some of them in some cases demoted, you can say. And then you saw that the promotion of several persons purely on the basis of politics. In fact, some people promoted to one position today, and within a couple months, they they jump to some higher rank and then jump again. This is crazy. So the persons are realizing, unless you need to play political games, then you have no future in the Royal Grenada Police Force. That has led to a lot of a demoralized institution, and when your police force is under that threat and feeling not appreciated and so on, they are not going to perform the way that you want. So those who remain most of the competent officers are leaving the force and have left. Many of them have retired. Some of them went into private business. And, uh, and then you have the training component of new recruits in a short period of time. I don't know, I heard that in some cases 4 and 5 weeks training, 3 weeks training. I don't know how you can train a serious, competent police officer in 3 weeks. The person, a man or woman, might be a very good person, and might have interest in the protection of the citizens of the country, but he or she will have to have the training to do their job properly. So if they're out there with that little training and appear not to be doing the job that is supposed to do, we cannot be mad with them, because they were not given the tools and they want the job, they have accepted it, but it's difficult for them to perform at the level that we expect. So you see over and over, right throughout the entire police force, you drive through the streets and you see the traffic situation in the country, where you can see there is no order as you drive along. I've never seen it like this, and you cannot blame. I see some of the poor traffic wardens, the women and men out there fighting to in trying to control traffic and trying to discipline people, and you consider task is beyond them. And I feel sorry for these police officers and the traffic wardens. I really empathize with them, and I pray hopefully that situation can be arrested faster than we are seeing at this time. But it's a real problem, and it's affecting the ability of the police men and women to do their job appropriately. And I am very concerned. And then you see the whole proliferation of guns, and people are saying they have nothing to do with it. When you're in a position of authority and you have to protect your citizens, when something happens, you have to take responsibility. You may not be the one actually doing the act, but you have accepted the responsibility to manage and keep the people in the country safe. So I don't know how you can sit there and say that you are not responsible for action. I mean, Sheldon, we just had to go back to Ivan. When Ivan occurred, we I felt that we let down the country because they were looting and there were the breaking at the prison and so on. And I wasn't directly responsible, but I accepted responsibility together with the commissioner of police. And, I moved myself as Minister of National Security for a while, and also as the commissioner of police that we have to go. Also, they were my friends. So with that is when Commissioner Weston James became Commissioner of Police. And that was not to mean that I directly was responsible for, but I had to take responsibility because I affected my being Prime Minister and Minister of National Security of the country, put the country in a very difficult position where people could have lose their lives. And therefore, I could not duck responsibility. So I had to do something to demonstrate that I understand that I had some responsibility going forward. So we do have, I am worried, and hopefully, I believe in my address that I gave a couple of days ago to the nation that was on social media and all around. I mentioned the fact that I think it's important for the government. The government has to lead. I mean, and you're not hearing a word. I can't lead this process. You know, I have been removed as far as responsibility is concerned, and I accepted it in the way that I should. But the government has to take leadership and involve citizens of the country, whether it's the business community who are suffering right now and who will and are being affected by this wave of violence in the country, and in fact will get worse if it's not dealt with immediately. I think you need to involve the Royal Grenada Police Force. They must be involved. You need to involve the trade union organization in the country because they represent workers, and workers will workers benefits, and I mean that in terms of expansion of job opportunities will be affected as the country if the security of the country is being threatened as they are right now, you get worse. It will affect more jobs in the country. Certainly, the non-governmental community, the churches, that we did when we had much less problem in government. We did call in all these parties. We met with them and also met with the young people in the country, those who were organizations who had young people involved. We met with them and we all agreed that we must arrest this situation. But then you're hearing nothing. And all you're seeing is more travels, more fun, more party, more gala. Um, the independence celebration, all these monies were wasted and spent and having fun. And I mean, all the drum work, they sound beautiful and nice, but what has it done to the lives of the people of the country? I can't understand this. And something has to be wrong with it inside the head of those who are now leading the country to continue to operate like this. And I can't help, I must express it. Some people will not be happy, but I'm in my position right now, Sheldon, my life, I don't worry what people think about Pete Mitchell. I more worry about what I think is right, what I think is best for the country, and that's how I will continue to operate.
Dr. Mitchell, your present assessment, I've heard your assessment of the Royal Grenada Police Force. Um, what is your general perception of the crime situation in Grenada right now? Do you think the average Grenadian, from what you've been hearing, and I know you have been from one end of Grenada to the other, Carriacou, all over, what have you been hearing from Grenadians? Do they feel safe?
No, Grenadians are worried. You know, wherever you go now, Sheldon, no matter if you walk the street, you go to church, you go to a social function as I've been to, whether it's a birthday activity or some celebration of a social nature among friends, the first thing people come up to you, what is happening with the crime in this country? They're worried. And the constant theme is what is happening and what is the government doing about the situation that concerns almost everyone. You talk to people in the tourism belt, they are quite concerned that the news of these constant incident of violence and gun activities in the country, it's been spread regionally and internationally. Grenada has never had that situation as it is right now. And therefore, people are clearly extremely worried. And it's affecting all sectors of the society, as I mentioned earlier on.
Now, you've also mentioned the some of the challenges that Grenadians are facing on a daily basis. One of the things we've been seeing is the inflation rate going up, the cost of goods and services constantly increasing. The cap, which was placed by your administration in relation to the price of gasoline, has been changed. We don't know. In a couple of days, we'll know if the price goes further up or if it goes down a bit. We'll know in a couple of days.
Well,
The cost of living, and what have you been hearing from your constituents? What have you been hearing from Grenadians, or even from Grenadians abroad? Because they are the ones that the locals here, the ones here call on to assist. What have you been hearing in relation to the cost of living?
well, first of all, we live in a world that, because of certain things that are occurring regionally, internationally, we will see certain aspects of our services or materials, um, might be seeing some increase. But the fact is, when you are in leadership and your people are being affected, whatever the reason for it, then you take steps to help to buffer the problem as you see it. And that's why we saw the increase in, because we don't control the price of gasoline internationally. So when we saw it increasing, we put a cap on that price of $15. There was a reason behind this. And therefore, the busmen and other persons servicing the country in transport could not use this as an excuse to increase prices going up. Well, the present government, removed it and was boasting about it. And we see what is happening today. and the busmen and persons involved in the transport sector are crying out because there are less activities in the country because of less people working, and therefore buses are traveling sometimes empty, and it's affecting the busmen's life and the owners of buses. And at the same time, you have to travel, and the price of gasoline is up quite significantly. So it is having a serious negative impact on the country as a whole. But then we also have the question of the electricity. We put a cap, a removal of taxes and charges on electricity. The government came in and they removed that. We had a 25% reduction in non-fuel charge of electricity. The government removed it. So prices have gone up. We had also the removal of VAT on several food items. The government removed that. They removed the $150 from the seed um, personnel, and of course, only in recent time they talk about bringing back some portion of it. They now introduce VAT on water, all basic services that affect the livelihood of the ordinary man in the country. And therefore, you see the prices of the water charges will increase, and now with the problem that we're having, you will see with with prices going up, less water available for some sectors of the society, and the problem is increasing. And then also you have the question of they introduce VAT on sugar, and add this the bold-facedness, as I would say it, to tell the nation that they're doing that to prevent people from using less sugar, so that they would have less diabetes and less diseases related to chronic ailments in the country, which is absolute nonsense. And they know it is a revenue measure. It was not a health measure, because in educating people about sugar and its use, you use as an educational tool, and no one wants to hurt themselves. So people must use sugar, and they will. People must use water services, so they will. And therefore, what you are doing in effect, and it's affecting the poorest of the poor in the country. Because let's face it, there's people that live by these things and make little sugar cake and things that involve sugar, and to sell and to make a living while they're not provided any opportunities as work. And these people are being affected, you know. And so it seems like this government seems to have an appetite to hurt the poor people of this country. It seems, and that's why I remember them in Parliament, and if you hear the thunderous applause on the government side, the opposition members and the former government always talking about poor people, and all of them laughing. And I watch all of them on the side, and all of them come from poor people, poor families. They should be ashamed that they're out there talking and laughing about somebody talking about poor people. Sheldon, I've always said over and over to my entire life, I know where I came from, and I will never forget that. Some people come from poverty, and they forget where they come from, and you would think that they would have come from the sky, so to speak. But I think it's important to recognize this, and I always say this about government. A government in office has a fundamental responsibility to enact policies and programs that can give the opportunities to any part of the society to feel that they have a chance to improve their lot. No government should come in and say that I want to hurt this sector of the population. I have to just take care of this sector of the population. A government must give a policy, must implement policy and program, and create an environment that all citizens, the businessman must feel that if he wants to take initiative, that he can create more opportunities for himself. He has to feel so. The farmer must feel that he can expand his business activities in his farm. The fisherman must feel that if he goes out there and labor more and bring out more cash, that he has opportunity to expand. The vendors must feel that they have opportunities to to ply their trade and to improve their lot. That's important. But but Sheldon, when I make this point, I say, but every government must have a special focus. Any government, any politician that gets into politics must tell themselves, if I am not improving the lot of the poor people of the country, then I should not be in politics. In other words, any government that does not see as a fundamental responsibility to lift up people in the society, those from the lower end as much as possible, and to help others who are in a better position to help others to come up. I say that government has abdicated its fundamental responsibility. And you know, Sheldon, I compare this, as your reply said a while ago. My life has been a teacher. And I always feel, no matter whether it's politics, whether it's in sports, whether it's in academic, I see teaching as a fundamental aspect. It's my calling. Sheldon, in the classroom, I say it like this. A teacher in a classroom will be teaching a lot of students. And I saw it at high school level when I taught, and I saw it at university level, and so on. When you're in a classroom, the students who are bright and capable, you just put the material in front of them and they're gone with it. You don't really, you're not, you can't praise yourself as a great teacher if these students perform well, because they are clearly in terms of intellect and in terms of ability. But you know where you find that you can complement yourself is when you help the less the student who wants to do well, the student who wants to do well and maybe have the less capacity or environment for him to succeed. And you aid those students to come up and reach that top level also. That's when you feel a sense of achievement. So I compare that to being in politics. When you see that you're able to make an impact in the lives of the poor people of the country. And I tell you, when I drive to my own constituency, I feel a sense of pride. Because I remember the days in Brazana and Busheshu and Happy Hill. It was only in 1985, 86, it was some little piece of houses on a stone in many of those places. But very few people were going to school, high school at the time. But today you see the amount of students who have succeeded and come from poor people's family and have reached the top levels in many parts of the society. And you see the structure of buildings, you see the lives have improved, you see the social strata has increased enormously. That makes you feel proud. So when people are talking about politics and life, one has to measure his contribution and how you see you are able to help, not because all these people helping themselves. You can't by yourself do it. So the credit must not just come to you, but you feel by being part of that process that it certainly has made you feel, I have done something useful in my life. And that to me is so important going forward. Therefore, I make the point over and over. You cannot be taking decisions that marginalize the poor and vulnerable even more than they have been marginalized before. And it seemed to me that is the government. If you remember, Sheldon, when I did my first budget response, I mentioned, you take the quote, go back and look at that quote. I said it seems like this government has come in to hurt the poor people of this country, because many of the actions taken on their first budget, most of the reduction, most of the attack on the budget in the negative sense was against the poor people, is areas the poor people are benefiting. Whether it's the money, whether it's the seed workers in the country, whether it's the contract workers, just name them. It was all areas of where poor people benefit. And that's where the government seemed to have had their focus, to hurt the poor people of this country.
Yes, indeed. And folks, we're speaking with Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell at this time. Yeah, we are speaking with Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell at this point in time. Former Prime Minister, political leader of the New National Party. And he's been, I think this is the second time we've had him on with us for the year. I know he did make a call on an issue, but that was a brief one. But we have not had him on for the past couple months. So it's a good thing that we're getting him on now and we're able to have this conversation with him in relation to various national issues. And we have some questions coming up. All you expect to hear, but we're going to ask the questions because Dr. Mitchell come tonight to talk, and he come in and talk on various issues. But Dr. Mitchell, I want to ask you a question as we were speaking about the economy and so on. There's one particular question that I know several people in economics have been asking, and that is the question of this government's heavy reliance on CBI and CBI revenues. And added to that, I don't know if you've heard anything about the Kimpton by Kawana Bay. Prime Minister said they were supposed to be paying off, people were supposed to be getting money and things, but all of a sudden we've heard nothing about the Kawana Bay. So I don't know if you know. First part of the question is on the CBI revenues. The second part is, have you heard anything about Kawana? We're not hearing nothing.
Sheldon, I don't know how any government could be relying on CBI the sales of economic citizenship as a basis for development, because clearly there will be limitations there, and there are going to be problems related to this. And therefore, the government has not shown any ability to initiate programs and activities that can increase economic activity in a broad sense. In other words, okay, you are benefiting some resources and at this time from CBI. So I accept it, unlike the same government when it was in opposition. They criticized the initiative of CBI investments for citizenship program that we had. Today, that's what they're relying on almost completely, and they don't even have the guts to apologize to the nation for having to attack the program. No. But you expected them to take initiative to improve the development in the agricultural sector. What has happened to this? Nothing. In fact, if anything, you destroy the marketing board and you destroy the opportunities for the farmers to feel a sense of hope going forward. So that's almost, you can say that's dead, so to speak. What about the fishing industry? What has happened there? That is a major problem and a major concern. In the tourism industry, are there any serious development there? You mentioned the issue, Sheldon, about Kawana Bay. I mean, this to me is a serious issue that the country should be concerned about. And there must be a serious investigation. What is the situation there? Why did we have to pay off these large sums of money to an individual and that we don't know what is happening after that? And you and I know the Prime Minister is always making statements, a lot of fancy statements. And you see nothing happen afterwards, and he never comes back to us and say, well, look, I said this and it didn't happen. I apologize, or look what has happened that caused some of the things not to be available yet. He says not a single word, and that is a problem. So we have not heard anything about Kawana Bay. I've heard rumors, but I cannot tell you that any significant thing has been done. So I'm still waiting, like most Grenadians, to find out whether, in fact, what was initially planned and for further development as far as that property is concerned is in fact implemented.
No, as we're speaking about the economy, and we spoke about the Kimpton by Kawana, but earlier you were speaking about the agricultural sector, some of what has been taking place and should be taking place in the agricultural and fishing sector. Recently on this program, a fisherman who applied to the Grenada Development Bank called. And he was saying that the amount of money that he applied for, he wasn't able to get it. So he was actually only able to get the money either to partially buy the boat or partially buy the engine. But he couldn't get enough money to buy a boat, an engine, and the other implements needed to not only fish but keep him safe out there. We've been hearing about the development bank being used as a piggy bank by certain government ministers. Certain government ministers have it as the piggy bank. What have you heard? Your views on what is taking place with the Grenada Development Bank and what it ought to be used for?
Well, my friend, you know, I think it's a sad thing that if you look at the policy of that is supposed to be in place for the development bank, Grenada Development Bank, you see that this government has broken all the basic policies of that bank. At no other time in the history of this country have you seen any government use the GDP as a source of funding for ministers of government. That's never happened before. You know, and what is so sad is that in one case, one minister, just after they came into government, got $1.7 million to buy a home. That's what we heard, but maybe in the future we'll find out more after some serious investigation is done. Another minister got over $2 million. So this is breaking the fundamental policies of the bank. And you ask yourself, well, who is doing this? And I'm not going to say ministers. The prime minister has to take fundamental responsibility for this. It cannot be otherwise. Because unless the prime minister is supporting this, it cannot happen. And that is what is frightening. And our other ministers, other members of the government, has got hundreds of thousands of dollars from the bank. As you said, it's being used as a piggy bank for government ministers. And that is a sad reflection of the attitude displayed. It seems that the government members believe that they came into government to fortify and fatten themselves at the expense of the country. So no wonder why an ordinary farmer who's the bank in this GDB was known as the Grenada Agricultural Bank, under the GLP. That's how it started. So there was a focus on helping farmers through that bank. And we broadened it later and got the support. It was the NNP that strengthened that institution and made it the banking institution that it was before this government came in. So it was also meant to help small businesses to expand in the country, because persons who are interested in getting millions of dollars, you suppose there is the Republic Bank there are other banks there in the country. If you have assets and you have a good proposal and a good track record, these banks will be more than willing to give you loans because they expect that it will be paid, and that's how they make the bank becomes stronger and better. So they don't need to have a politician helping them to get a loan, so to speak. And therefore, no bank operates the way in which this government has operated the GDP since it came into office. But that's not surprising. The minute I saw the construct I saw the directors on that bank, I say they're going to raid the bank. And honestly, before I even heard about the transactions to help ministers and so on, I knew that they were going to do it. The treasurer of the NDC is chairman of the bank. And they look at the breakdown of members on those boards of the GDP, then you know it was going to be a Kalalu. And this is precisely what we have noticed. But that is been the order of the day. If you look at several of the institutions that this government has placed board members on, they have politicized the Public Service Commission. There's no other government in the history that I know of even the former NDC government, there was never like that. That you've placed only persons of close political association in charge of the Public Service Commission. And what is happening? They are harassing good public servants who they perceive not to be supportive of the government politically, not necessarily on the work of the government, but the political association with the government, which is clearly demoralizing the public service and creating an enormous problem for the society. I don't know who is not understanding the situation that we're now facing in our country, and why would people do this? You look at many of the boards, other boards that they have, a lot of people are just closely associated with political arms. And even if you were associated, you ought not to be taking some of the decisions that you're taking purely on the basis of politics. As someone said quite rightly, we had one of the better managers at Nawasa, Mr. Husband. The man has been there, it's almost like an institution, and he helped to build that institution over the years, right? Sheldon, I was shocked as soon as he came in. Next thing you hear, the member had to be moved by the government. You might say they didn't, but he was there all the time. It's fine, it's strange. And he has been able to get a job from a regional organization, which clearly demonstrates that is the respect and ability of the individual. And you could point to other areas of government services where people who are operating like the police force, as I mentioned before, and you see what has happened to the police force since the actions are taken against top members of the force. So this government has created their own problem. If they met something which was generally working appropriately, the people made a change because they expect improvement. All they had to do was improve on what the former government was doing and make some changes as they think necessary. But to try to upend the whole system, and clearly it is creating their own demise politically and affecting the country socially and economically.
Yes, indeed. And Dr. Mitchell, I know that WeFM has to leave us in the next 13 minutes or so. So I want to ask you some questions. We'll come back to some other questions on these issues, but I want to ask you about the new National Party and where in your mind is the new National Party at this point in time? Is it where you believe it should be at this point in time? Where is the new National Party? How are things with the party at this point in time?
Oh, party. Well, Sheldon, no party should feel that it has reached an optimal level. So it's a work in progress. We are very satisfied, comparatively speaking, to any other political party in this country at this time, that this is the strongest political party in this country. And it's with the cry in the country is right now is that the NNP needs to get back there to bail out this country. I mean, that's a fact. Whether one wants to accept it or not and want to pretend otherwise, then that's the reality. And that's what happens in life. Sometimes you make changes for whatever reason, and you have that right. But when the change occurs and you notice instead of improvement is more problems for yourself, then clearly you are disappointed. And it happens in anything you're doing, whether it's sports, whether it's business, whether it's politics. You see that all the time. So, Sheldon, I am pretty comfortable and happy with the present status of the new National Party. And clearly we are working on what we have to do in terms of the organization, improving it, and bringing in new blood in some areas to do what we think is necessary, because we have to provide an atmosphere of what you see as the party future going forward. And this is something, a work in progress, and we will be doing this to ensure that the party will become stronger as we go forward in this country. So I'm pretty comfortable and happy with what's happening with the new National Party at this time. But we worry about the pain that is taking place in the country and the impact it's having on all sectors of the society, including our supporters.
Now, there has been some talk out there. I know recently, our good friend Dr. Bert Braffett, he was disinvited from the executive, and I've seen various people out there pontificating. I myself have not seen them at a NNP function, not even just a meeting, at any NNP function. I haven't seen them in over 24 months at any function. In one instance, in nearly 5 years, I haven't seen that individual who is pontificating about the NNP out there. Um, what is the situation with Dr. Bert Braffett? I know it's your good friend from ever since. What is the situation with Dr. Bert Braffett and the New National Party? What happened there?
All I can say is he's been ill-advised to to do what I consider to be a very irresponsible act of going and making public statements attacking the party and calling the executive unconstitutional. I think it's unfortunate that the Bert has been allowing himself to be used by certain persons for their own personal interests. And unfortunately, that's where it is. I don't know how you could expect to be in a party and being invited. You are not a member of the executive, invited, and then turn around and go publicly attacking the party and feel that you are right to do it. You may feel that you're right, but that's not what is expected. And so I hope and pray that voters have a change of mind sooner than later. And I continue to wish him the best. I mean, we are friends socially and otherwise, and I hope that friendship will return. But certainly politically, I can't support where he's at, where his politics is at this particular time.
Now, we've also been hearing questions over and over about convention. When is the NNP having a con? And the thing is, most of the people are here asking this question, I know, are not even card-carrying members of the New National Party. And I'm not saying that average Grenadians shouldn't be interested in what is taking place with the party, that they obviously want to return to run the affairs of Grenada, because the ones who have it now are ruining it. What is the state with convention and so on? Because the party is coming up to the 40th anniversary. I know on Thursday there's an activity that will be
Yes.
launching the series of activities for the 40th anniversary of the party. Convention, I know a lot of people here expect me to ask that question, but what is taking place with convention?
Well, the convention is part of this constitution of the party, and it will be held. And there's nothing that says the convention must be held this month or next month, and so on. And the party is the one, the executive of the party makes the decision and the timing of convention, and that is certainly going to happen sooner than later. Sheldon, it will certainly happen, and there are persons, as you said, who I sat in Parliament, Sheldon, and I was shocked and amazed that the Prime Minister and two of his members stood up in Parliament and recommending who should be the leader of the New National Party. And it's the first time in my political life I have heard the leader of one political party, especially one in power, recommending the leadership for the opposition party. And I said, one, the fact that the statement was made showed that who is making the statement is certainly not a serious political person, and clearly immature as far as politics is concerned. That should never come out of your mouth, because almost imply we know that you want to remain in office and you would not recommend the best person for leadership of the opposition because you want somebody you can beat. So I would say that was ill-advised, and I found it strange that other members of the government was promoting the same person. And I thought if I was called and if I was the person and I was asked to recommended to lead my political party by the opposition to my party, I would be extremely worried, because it is almost telling me that you perceive that I'm easy to beat, so to speak. So convention will be held sooner than later. And I'm telling you those who won convention, I hope when it happens and they didn't get what they deserve, what they didn't get what they want, that they would also be happy with the results. I'm very confident that what is best for the NNP will emerge when convention is held. I have no doubt in my mind, and I will be there helping to ensure the success of the new national party going forward. And I just hope and pray that all members of the party who claim that they're interested in the party's success understand that what we're doing should be what is best for the new national party, not what is best for a certain individual or individuals. The NNP is not about individuals. Don't forget Keith Mitchell. I give my service to this country and give my service to the party, and should not worry about individuals. Worry about what is best for the party's future going forward. And I will play an extremely important role. I would continue to play my role into ensuring that the party continues to go from strength to strength.
On that note, where do you see the new National Party 10 years from now? You're celebrating 40 years this year. 40 years this year. In 10 years, you're going to be celebrating 50 years, the new National Party at 50. Where do you see the new National Party 10 years
For
from
one,
now?
Sheldon, at that time, where I see it as, I would see the new leadership of the party, certainly at that time, I would see it continuing to be the vibrant political organization it has been. I expect that this NNP will be in government, certainly before 10 years' time, but certainly 10 years' time, yes, definitely. And I expect to see new blood strengthening the arm of the party at all levels in the country and providing the services that the country deserves. I think people are aware that every time there is a change of government from the new national party, the country has been hurt badly economically, socially, and otherwise. So I think there's clear that to expect to see the return of the new national party in government. And I see this party going from strength to strength, and I see more and more young people coming and getting involved and taking over the reins of opportunities that the party makes available to people to come forward. We look forward to the continued strengthening of the arms of the party, the women arm, the youth arm, and organizational arm of the party continuing to go from strength to strength. And I believe I have the physical ability that God has given me, hopefully it remains so, to continue to play a role to ensure that the party's future is well secured.
Yes, indeed. And I know the listeners on WeFM, they kind of upset that they have to go in the next 2 minutes or so. But Dr. Mitchell, 40 years, you've been having a series of meetings around the island. I know that you're having one in St. Andrew Southwest that's taking place this Thursday as well. So the NNP has two activities this Thursday. You've got the press conference at 10 a.m. and all of you, I hope you join us for that.
Yes, I will be there.
And then Grenville Secondary School at 6:30 p.m. on Thursday with Sister Yolande Bain Hosford, Honorable Emlyn Pear, Honorable Kate Skeeter Lewis Peters, and yourself. How has this series of meetings been going? What have you been picking up in this series?
Yes, so far, so good. I certainly would like to see more young people in the meetings that we've been having. And excuse me, there has been an effort to ensure that we can get more young people involved. I think we saw a good base of young people at Kate's meeting and Keita Lewis meeting in Tivoli, and Sister Emlyn Pear had a very good turnout in her constituency when we had one there. I must say that I hope the other, and in certainly in River Sally, there was a mammoth meeting, one of the biggest meeting that we've held in the party since being in opposition, and we saw quite a lot of young people there. I was pleased, but we expect to see more of that in the other areas that we have had meetings. So we expect to see improvement in those areas. So I look forward, as I told Sister Yolande this afternoon, that I expect we have a big turnout in Southwest St. Andrews in the school in St. Andrews this Thursday evening. afternoon.
And again, I think one of the things that you've been picking up from a lot of young people and other people is that they're afraid to come out to different meetings. You see the government sending out notices to public servants saying, well, don't post things on the internet. Other than that, the Public Service Commission, which I have been saying has been weaponized, but the Public Service Commission is going to deal with you if you are found to be posting information on social
Yes,
media and so on.
if
Um,
you are if you are NDC, you can post.
but it
If
seems
you are
so.
posting NDC propaganda, you can post. But anyone who says something which is not in the liking of the government, then the so-called Public Service Commission, this political Public Service Commission, will attempt. But what the guys have to understand, and the government has to understand, and the public service has to understand, there's a constitution, there are laws in place to protect the citizens of the country. You cannot stop someone from expressing opinions in the country about what sort of government, what sort of society is like this. You and I know, Sheldon, some of the basic, the most strongest critic against my government and our government, the NNP government in office, has been elements with no bounds with their mouth. They were saying anything, and not one day did we even reply, because we thought by replying we're giving those persons that has little or no credibility some kind of credibility going forward. And we were winning elections with all this bad mouthing all over the place. But people must be free to express themselves as long as you're not destroying people's character or trying to destroy people's livelihood. Then that's your right. And I don't see any government. And people should not be afraid to speak out. People should not be afraid to challenge some of the things that are going on in this government, some of the things that are affecting the society. I don't think you should. If you have the future that you want to see protected, I don't see how you can sit back and allow certain things that you see happening in the country to remain as it is. I hope and pray that those persons in the Public Service Commission in its action will see what they're doing is incorrect and they should desist and continue in that process.
And at this juncture, I'd like to say thank you to the listeners who joined us on 93.9 WeFM. I'd like to say a special thank you to those of you who have joined us via WeFM. We know you all have to go off now. But Dr. Michelle, we are speaking about that because within the public service now, there seems to be a certain level of fear. You have people being told you have to sign non-disclosure documents and so on. There seems to be this fear of, because you've been asking questions in Parliament and you've not been getting answers. I know you've asked a question in relation to travel and the volume that has been spent on travel. That has not been
Mhm.
properly answered.
They
Um,
say they don't have the information yet.
but I mean, we know there's Smart Stream and they can have that information in less than 10 minutes.
Yeah. Of course,
Um,
of course, of course.
yeah.
But we will find out one day, Congo Tea.
Yes, indeed. And let me just let folks know we will be opening the phone lines. We will be opening the phone lines in roughly about
Yes,
15-20 minutes. We will be opening the phone lines. Dr. Mitchell, as we mentioned, the young people, there is an issue I'd like to ask you about. And it's an issue that
yes.
I know you're very passionate about, and that's cricket. I know that quite recently, although they use the opportunity to hold a parliament sitting when you're out, because that happens, we recognize that happens regularly, that you went to Trinidad on some business in relation to West Indies cricket. I'm
Yes.
surprised. I didn't see anybody from the government going, but you went
Yes.
down there. What was that meeting about and what was the outcome? And I'm asking this in the context of this, sir. I see everybody boasting. I see St. Vincent fixing up World Cup cricket. I hear the rest other islands boasting. They're fixing up. They're getting ready for visitors. World Cup cricket. Grenada. What was that meeting about?
Well, it must be recalled that for the many years as Prime Minister, there is a subcommittee established by heads of government for different areas of serious interest to the region. For example, science and technology was one of them, and of course, cricket. And because of my expertise in the area of the science, I was asked to chair that committee throughout the period that I was Prime Minister of the country. Um, and in the case of cricket, knowing that I played the game at the regional level and had very good relationship with the cricketers throughout the region at all levels, and that I had my passion for the game, I was named as chairman of the Prime Ministerial Subcommittee on Cricket. And we have had a number of consultation and seminars at the regional level with cricketers, some of our stars throughout the region over the years. And it is well known that the team has not been doing as well as they were in previous history of the game. So Prime Minister Rowley, since my defeat of my political party in Grenada, Prime Minister Rowley was asked, he has similar strong interest in and passion for cricket. He was asked to take over that position. And he did call me after he accepted that decision at the heads and said to me that whenever he's having any regional meeting on the cricket, on ways in which to improve the cricket in the region, the success of the West Indies cricket team, that he will certainly want me to be there. And he stuck to his word. So when this decision by the heads of government to invest or to initiate this subcommittee meeting for on cricket for the entire region, they invited a number of the past stars like Viv Richards, Wesley Hall, Charlie Griffith, um, the famous batsmen Greenidge and Haynes, and just a number of Lara was doing this IPL broadcast, but he spoke with passion virtually. A number of players throughout the region were there. The West Indies Cricket Board was also represented by the top office of the board. And of course, Prime Minister Rowley invited a few prime ministers, invited countries to send in the top of the persons that they believe would make a tremendous contribution. Prime Minister Motley came also and attended the meeting and stayed for the 2 days. And President of Guyana did speak virtually to the conference and that meeting. And we had 2 days of hectic and passionate discussion on cricket in the entire region. But it's important to note that I was also asked by the West Indies Cricket Board president to chair a subcommittee of the board, that was stakeholders committee. So I technically, as an ex officio person on the West Indies Cricket Board, I was also invited by the West Indies Cricket Board. So I got 2 invitations for that meeting, and also invited by Prime Minister Rowley. Therefore, I attended this meeting. I must say it's a fruitful meeting. In fact, members feel there was a general feeling because for the first time there was that symmetry between the West Indies Cricket Board and the political directorate in the region. Before, we had to fight the board and its attitude. And therefore, you'll see the Prime Ministerial Subcommittee on Cricket with the players and the board in discussion, but generally speaking, there was this non-interest historically by the board to change and to make the kind of changes necessary to ensure that our cricket can go further, move further in its development stage as far as the region is concerned. But at this time, the present president, Dr. Kishore from St. Vincent, was very supportive of major changes and recommendations was made. And the Prime Minister Motley and Rowley gave the strong support to the initiatives being taken. And I expect for the first time to see some serious movements. And in fact, the past cricketers I mentioned earlier on, many of them were there, and many of them said they really expect to see some serious movement as far as the region's cricket is concerned going forward. So I was very happy to be there.
Yes, indeed. And folks, we are speaking with Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell. Any information as to why Grenada didn't get games? I mean, you were in the forum where some people who get games and boasting they get game, but
Well,
what
you
was the
recall,
problem?
Sheldon, when the World Cup was held in the Caribbean in 2007,
Mm-hmm.
I was at the center of it, and Grenada was well respected. And because we got top games, as you remember, we got several games and the World Cup, and in fact, when the opening ceremony was held in Jamaica, I was the one who spoke on behalf of the entire region. I gave the feature address, opening and speaking to the entire world. So Grenada was on the map. Today, a World Cup is being held and we don't get a game. You know, it's sad, and it's a reflection of the Ministry of Sports and the government as a whole, and the leadership of the ministry in a general sense. And had they would have known of my connection on the board, they would have known of my history of relationship with the Caribbean, with the cricketers in general. And had they asked me, I would have done everything to make sure, because I was being asked, as I said, I interact with the board members, and they were asking me what happened to Grenada. I can't speak for Grenada, so I just kept my mouth shut. And it's unfortunate because we could have got many games, Sheldon, but that's not the only problem. So we're getting no games for the 2024 World Cup, T20 World Cup. But worse than that, a schedule came out recently that 3 teams are going to be in the Caribbean before the end of the year: South Africa, Bangladesh. Yes, I think it's Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and West Indies is also going to a tour to England. And not one game. There will be several T20 matches, several test matches, several one-day matches. Not one game Grenada is getting. It is a clear reflection of the leadership of the country as a whole right now, and the leadership of the Ministry of Sports, in particular the Ministry of Sports at this particular time. And the unwillingness to seek advice, because, I mean, it is well known, it's not difficult to understand that I am in a position to help. And I would not be helping you politically, but certainly in the interest of the country, I will do whatever I can do to to see to it that more of the sport in cricket is played in Grenada. And I am just saying, Sheldon, as you mentioned, cricket. My interest is not just cricket. My interest is sports, because I see that as a major component of the development of the young people of our country. And that's why we invested in the stadium. You remember how much criticism we got from the same opposition in government today for the stadium. We're building a white elephant, all kinds of nonsense. And then you have Kirani James emerge as a goal in the Olympics, and you have several stars on the international scene because we have the facilities. I remember at the recent Carriacou games, yeah, a certain top official from a certain major country in the Caribbean that always had top facilities said to me when I came there, he said to me, you know, Dr. Mitchell, I really feel, I feel a sense of embarrassment that when I look at your facility here and see what we have compared to what the comparison was 20 years ago, I feel hurt. And I want to compliment you and your government for the level of the facilities that you have, because our sportsmen, our athletes were praising the facilities that they see in Grenada while they were training here in preparation for the Carriacou Games. So he was praising the Grenada, the government and people for the facilities that they saw in that national stadium for the Carriacou Games.
Yes, indeed. folks, and we are going to open the phone lines in the next 10 minutes. Yeah, 10 minutes past already. 10 minutes, we're going to open the phone lines. And so several people are sending in questions, Doc. And one of them that I've seen are in relation to the housing and the houses, particularly the houses in Beaujeu, in Corinth, in St. David. We realized that between the last time that you were on the program and this time, that the houses have been re-ribbon. They cut ribbon again for the same houses that ribbon was cut for already. And they had a launch. I don't know what they launched. I don't know if it was a space shuttle or whatever they launched, but they say they launched thing. So they launch and different things. And all of a sudden they've gone extremely quiet on the issue of the houses. What have you heard in relation to the houses?
Well, you know, this government never communicates with the people. You just see something happening and you hear an action has been taken. No discussion. We have heard nothing about the houses in Beaujeu, my constituency. And as a party, the other members in the party and around have said they have had no information. We hear statements, as you have heard, and cutting of ribbon and all kinds of stuff, but we have seen no serious decision or action taken as far as the delivery of those houses. But most importantly, I cannot understand how this government could change the basic criteria for the receipt of houses and the way they have done. Because it is well known that the NNP government was the one who negotiated the thousands of houses from the Republic of China. And we specify that this is for the poor and vulnerable people in the society. And this is a gift to the people of Grenada. There would be some cost to the infrastructure that some people have to meet the basic cost. But there was no intention for the government to be selling and asking people to go to the banks to get loan, because these are not the people that can afford to get loans from a bank. So the minute you said you have to go to a bank and talk in this nonsense that they will guarantee the loans, I mean, that you want the government to take over debts for something that they have no right to take debts on? So it is just crazy. The houses are meant for the poor and vulnerable, especially single mothers who have to be trying to make a livelihood out there to help their kids go to school and so on without the support of many of our men folks. And they need the houses, and they can't be asking them to go to a bank. Where are they going to get the asset? If they had money and they could have got they could have got loans from an institution to get a $70,000, they could build a little house for themselves. They don't need government to do so. So the thing is crazy. But again, as I said earlier on, this government seemed to have a special a special feeling or interest, I should use the word, in doing things that affect negatively the poor people of this country. And that's just another action of an uncaring and unfeeling government who seems to have no heart in helping the poor and vulnerable in their own society.
Dr. Mitchell, another question that has been coming up there, I saw about two people asking about it. They're asking about your views on what has been taking place with the removal of people who have been vending on the sides of the street. Not only those, but the people who have their businesses at different locations around the island, and
Well,
the manner in which it is being done to these
you know,
people. They want to know your views in relation to that.
well, my view is the fact that many of these places existed while we're in government is a clear indication that we believe that the government action is certainly unconscionable. You look, this period, you have, as I mentioned earlier on, the pain and the vulnerability of the poor people of the country is probably stronger than it's ever been. There are little or no jobs in the country at this time, so somebody can look towards finding a job. The economic activity has dropped significantly. Even the construction sector has dropped dramatically. So jobs are very difficult to find. People are making a livelihood. Now you want to change the environment in a particular area, so you want to say that you want to move certain things, buildings or person making a livelihood, then create an opportunity for them to earn a livelihood in another area. So don't just go and you destroy the facilities that they have, earning a livelihood, and you have no alternative for them. What do you expect them to do? How do you expect them to earn a livelihood? I'm not saying that the intention is not necessarily good to improve the environment. I'm for that. But at the expense of the destruction of the poor people and their ability to earn a livelihood and to take care of their families. So I'm totally against what this government is doing. And the threats, I have power and I can do what I want. You're the little people and you have no one to fend for you. So I can't do you what I want. That's the mindset of dictatorship. That's the mindset of people that don't care about people. I remember we had some vendors in the market at the Queen's Park. Many of them were earning a livelihood there, selling their agricultural products. And these people, and we got tents for them and we have them with buses to take them back and forth. People come in there to buy. So I myself used to go there often because it's easier to go there, even when I was Prime Minister, than to try to drive into St. George's in that environment there where it's already clogged with people and so on. So I used to go park my vehicle and then walk across my security and buy what I want to buy. And I know a lot of people were going there. The minute the guys came in, they removed the tents, took the people off the car park where they were not interfering with any serious activity in the park. And let them fend for themselves in the hot sun in a crowded area in the St. George's area. I mean, and these people have lost their livelihood. And you ask yourself, why are you doing that to these people? But there is no heart, there is no feelings. And as I said before, that is what this government is all about, dealing with these people that they feel have no right to live appropriately in the country. And this is a very sad reflection of the kind of leadership that we have in this country at this time.
Yes, indeed, folks. And folks, we're going to start taking your calls. Yeah, 440-7377. That's 440-7377 and 347-329-3101. And I'll ask you all to make your questions, your comments briefly, please. No long preamble, and then you go into a long tirade for 2 or 3 minutes. No, because various people want to call. And as usual, we are not answering the private calls. Well, I am not answering the private calls. Yeah, I'll keep you private. We have a caller online. Good night. Hello. Hello. Hello, caller. Okay, that person seems to have not realized that we answered them. Let's go to the other line. Oops. Ah, boy. Hello. Oh dear, I think I know what's happening there. Hello? 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 Okay, I'm not sure what's taking place there, Dr. Mitchell, but we seem to have lost that call as well. Callers here, 440-7377. That's 440-7377, 347-329-3101. You have the opportunity to call. Dr. Mitchell, have you had any update in relation to the Marketing and National Importing Board? We were told June for the public-private partnership. June is just a few weeks away, roughly 2 weeks away. Have you heard anything?
Nothing so far, Sheldon.
Okay, but
nothing at all.
Let's take this call and then we'll come back to that.
Yeah,
hello, good night.
Sure.
Hello? Hello, good night. Hi, good night. Well, I'm not sure what's up with the callers. Hello, good night. Well, I'm hearing the knocking or something in the background, so I assume you're hearing. Hello, good night. Okay, callers, when you call, please pay attention to the phone line and not, I think I know what's happening there. Please pay attention to the phone line and not to the computer. The computer, you may be as much as 2 minutes behind, 3 minutes behind. We will not be able to interact with you if you're paying attention to the computer. Listen to us on the phone line. I think we have a caller online. Hello, good night. Hello, good night. I'm hearing you in the background there. Hello, good night. Okay, I'm not sure what's taking place there. Let me try the other line. Hello, good night. Hello, good night. Caller, good night. Caller, good night. Well, Dr. Mitchell, I'm not sure what's up with the callers tonight, but it seems as though we're having a problem. Yeah, it seems as though we're having a problem getting them onto the line. Let me try one more time. Hello, good night. Hello, good night. Hello, good night. Good night, caller. Okay, now I'm not sure what's taking place there, Dr. Mitchell. Probably we may have to.
Love to have had to listen to a few of your callers tonight.
Yes, and they're calling, but I am not sure what is taking place, why they're not hearing. But again, callers, when you call, pay attention to the phone line. Do not listen for us to answer through the computer. Listen to us on the phone line. Let me try one on the WhatsApp line and see if I get that caller. Hello, good night. Hello, good night.
Good night.
Hi, good night.
Yes, good night. I was just trying. I was just trying to the line to see what is going on because I see that you was not getting through with the other callers, so I was wondering why. So I am here there on the job listening. So I have no question to ask, but I'm here listening. So I'm just trying to see what is going on.
Okay, great.
Have a
Thank you
good
very
night.
much. All right. So we know that the WhatsApp is working properly, but I'm not sure what is going on with the direct line. We'll try here once again. Hello, good night. Hello, good night. Well, folks, you'll have to call us on WhatsApp, it seems, because we seem to be having a problem. It seems as though we're having a problem getting you on directly. I'm not sure what took place there, but we're having a problem getting you directly. So let me go back to the WhatsApp line. And hello, good night. Hello, good night. Oh, that one dropped off. But we'll get them back. Yeah, folks. And let me go to the WhatsApp line once again. Yes. And hello, good night.
Good night, sheldon.
Oh boy, the WhatsApp line is heavy, boy. Yeah, go right ahead.
Hello.
Yes,
Good night, Dr. Keith Mitchell. I love you, baby.
Dr. Mitchell, I hope you're hearing.
I love you. I love you. I love you. Coming from Cherry Hill.
I get it.
My family, yes.
Yes,
and you're looking so nice. That is all I have to tell you. You're looking so nice, and I love you. And have a blessed night, right?
And you too. Tell hello to the family for me. Take care.
No, I'm in the States, Doc. I'm in the States.
No, but I'm just saying tell hello to the family. You have to tell.
Okay, baby. All right. You're looking young and sexy and nice. I love you.
You must tell them.
Bye-bye. Okay. All right. Bye-bye.
All right, you take care of yourself.
All right.
Yes, Doc. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yes, indeed. And I will still continue trying to see if I get someone on the landline. I'm not sure why it is I'm not getting the folks on the landline. So let me try again. Hello, good evening. Let me try here. Good evening. Hello. Yes, hello. Okay, they dropped off. Let's try again. Hello, good evening. I'm hearing you. Hello, good evening. Caller, yeah, I'm hearing you on the line. Yes, you go right ahead. You're live. Go right ahead. Caller, we're hearing you.
Hello?
We're hearing you. You go ahead. Yeah.
Sheldon, you look like you have a problem with your...
No, you're paying attention on the computer.
Because
Pay
you have a
attention.
problem by your end, Sheldon.
No, we're hearing you. Pay attention on the phone line and go right
By
ahead. You're
your
live.
end.
Okay.
So,
Caller, you're not listening. Pay attention, my dear, on the phone line itself. Yeah? Pay attention on the phone line. We were hearing you. All right? And we have a caller on the line. Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening.
Sheldon have a problem with that.
No, we're hearing you. We're hearing you. You go ahead. You're not paying attention to the phone
No,
line.
hearing you, Sheldon. Sheldon.
Yeah, I'm hearing you.
No, it's not them. You have a problem.
No, but we're hearing you now. We sorted that out. Go right ahead. Okay, you see, that's the thing. You listening for the responses on the computer. We can't operate like that. Yeah? You have to be listening on the phone line itself. Let's take this call. Hello, good night. Hello, good night. Hello, good night.
Good night to you, Sheldon, and to you, Dr. Kit Mitchell. Hello, good night.
Yes, we're hearing you.
Good night. Good night.
Good night.
Good night to my Prime Minister, looking so lovely. I'm calling from Aruba. Just listening and,
My dear, go ahead. You all are listening to the...
You have said it all. So I don't have any question to ask. I don't have anything to say, but just saying good night.
Okay.
Good night, my dear. Good
Calling
night.
to say
We
good
love
night to my Prime Minister.
All right. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
You
my
all
dear.
have a blessed night.
All right. Thank you.
I love you.
Yes, indeed. So I think we've got what the issue is here. So let's go back to the local line. And yes, folks, remember, just pay attention to us on the phone line. We're hearing you. Go right ahead.
Hello?
Hi, hello. Yes, we're hearing you. You go ahead.
Hello?
We're hearing you, caller. You go right ahead. Caller, we're hearing you. You go right ahead.
Hello? Are you hearing me?
Okay. Callers, before I take any more calls, let me explain how it operates. You cannot call the program, this or any other program, and listen off the computer or the phone or anything to have a conversation. If you've called using a mobile phone, speak to us, listen to us on the mobile phone, and turn the volume down of whatever is in the background down. Because we're answering, we're hearing you, the nation is hearing you, but you're not hearing us because you've moved the phone from your ears and listening for the response from the computer. So let's just see if we can get this one. Listen to us. I'm going to wait a while. Listen to us on the phone line. We're hearing you. We're hearing you very clearly. Yes, so just listen to us. Listen to us on the phone line. All right? Let's try again here. Hello, good night. Hello, good night.
Hey, Sheldon.
Hey, we're hearing you clear, man. Go right ahead.
All right. Good night, Prime Minister. One question I want to ask you, though. I know you had a very good, I would say, a very good record to run on, and which you did. But then at the same time, you lost the election. What is the reason? What do you think that went wrong that you lost the election? That's one question. And the other one is two questions, but the other one is though, if you are going to run again, would you debate Deacon Mitchell? The reason for that though, because you see, in election there's a lot of stone stitch, and people say a lot of things and promise a lot of things, and they don't know how they're going to do it after the election. So, but if you have a debate and you could able to clarify that to the people, that may help them to make a better decision when they go into the poll. Would you debate him?
Okay, caller. Thank you. Dr. Mitchell, I'm not sure if you heard.
I heard the first question, but I didn't hear much. I
Okay,
wasn't clear on what the person was saying about the second point he was
the
asking.
second point was they were asking about if you would be willing to debate Deacon Mitchell if you return as political leader of the party and an election is taking place, if you'd be willing to debate and so on. I think that's the basis of the second question.
The first thing he asked me about what went wrong, well, clearly, basically, I think as a party we took a lot for granted and generally did not do the work as we normally know that we must do in the process of an election. The groundwork in the constituencies were not done appropriately. There were poor canvassing. That means the canvass, an assessment of the political work on the ground was not appropriately done. So the reports that we were receiving on different constituencies was way out of line. It's only very few constituencies where we had the numbers or reflecting of what the results turned out to be. My constituency was one of them. So I think we, as a party, we made some serious mistake. Seriously, also, I think social media. We ran a traditional campaign and platforms and mobilizing our supporters in rallies, but we did not spend this appropriate time in a changing environment to capture the young people as we should. And clearly, that was a fatal mistake. I think also we did not take the NDC as seriously that we should, because there was this feeling of a new leader with no experience. Nobody, even myself, did not know him well, and that people will not vote for them, generally speaking. The NDC appeared to be in disarray a few months before an election. So all this was taken for granted as far as our opposition was concerned, and we paid a heavy price. I think also the public relation element in terms of the campaign was not appropriately done. The persons whom we hired did not do the work that they were supposed to do, and the advice given, all that combination of all this affected. And clearly there was this thing about we want change. After the NNP was in office for that length of time with 215 seats, there was this thing that time for change. Keith Mitchell is old and should go. Time to get a new leader. All these factors played a part. But I think the bottom line is we did not do the work on the ground as we should have. I think that was the main factor.
Yes, indeed. And we go back to the phone line. Hello.
You mentioned
Hello, good night.
Hello.
Hello, good
Sheldon,
night, caller. Go right ahead.
Good night, Sheldon.
Good night. Go right ahead.
Yeah, this is the voice of one crying out in the wilderness. Doc, the question that I need to ask is that the decriminalization of marijuana and the legalization of marijuana, what is your view on that? Thank you.
I did not hear that, Sheldon.
The caller asked about the decriminalization of marijuana or legalization of marijuana, your views on that particular issue.
Sheldon, the second question, the caller before did ask whether I would debate Nick Mitchell. I think the question, first of all, if an election is held, the first thing is whether I would be the person leading the NNP. That's a question mark. Clearly, it's something that has to evolve. And certainly I expect any leader of the new National Party will be more than happy to debate anyone from the opposition to it going into an election. And the question would be whether the NDC leader would want to debate the NNP leader. That I think is the more relevant question going forward. Was that question, Sheldon, again?
In relation to the decriminalization of marijuana, legalization or decriminalization, where do you stand on that issue?
We had agreed on the process of decriminalization. There was no, the issue of legalization was being something that was not decided upon during our period. of government, and it's an evolving thing going forward. I think the whole question of the use of marijuana is something that, 15, 20 years ago, I would say not even decriminalization. And even in North America, you see how fast things are changing. So we live in a changing society. I do not smoke, and therefore I would not be using it, just like I don't smoke cigarette. But some people do smoke, and I suppose some people believe that marijuana has its health use, health needs, and so on. So these are some things that I believe that we'll look at, and we have agreed that we'll decriminalize it, and of course for certain quantities that we were in support of this, but we didn't believe in mass sale of marijuana at all levels in the society. We have to be very careful because we know there are anything you do in life that's an overuse or is done in excess has negative consequences. Alcohol, a drink of alcohol may not be a short drink once a week or twice a week would not be a bad thing. But if you keep drinking alcohol every day and getting drunk, it will affect serious organs of your body. So the overuse of any serious substance is a problem. So we could look at, we agree on decriminalizing, but not the overuse and the obvious massive sale of marijuana at all levels in the society. I don't know that is something the society can stand at this time.
Indeed. And let's get back to the phone line. Hello, good night.
Good night.
Hi, good night, caller. You go right ahead.
Good night to my boss, Dr. Mick. Briefly, I want you to touch a little on what was mentioned about the oil and and if NMP was in office, what they would have done concerning the present water situation in Grenada. Thank you.
All right. So I'm not sure if you heard what the caller asked. They're asking about the oil situation, and they're also asking if the new National Party was in office, what would have been done in relation to the oil and gas situation, the water situation?
No, well, we said over and over, and the data is there, and the previous NDC government had the data also. We've said a significant, based on the studies that were done by the companies that were given the authority to do the research and the studies of our potential of oil and gas in our waters. And they, in fact, reported on the couple wells that were dug, there was significant potential, but it takes an enormous amount of money to be able to dig a well, and therefore needed to have major investment going forward. So, and one recall, even countries that had massive oil deposits over the years during COVID-19, there was a substantial drop in investment in that area. And therefore, since we were new and the potential was there was a problem in getting one of the investors, getting an investor to invest this hundreds of millions of dollars in to be able to extract the deposits that we have in our waters. And more so now, it becomes even harder because there is a strong move, as it's well known, and I hope all people understand this, that they're moving away from fossil fuel. So even countries that are now extracting large amount of oil are being called in for environmental problems that they're causing the world. So I think they're going to be less. In fact, you heard some countries are saying in the next 20 years, they hope to ban the question of fossil fuel in the country. So any new deposit right now will become a serious problem for any country attempting to extract. So to get an investor to be able to invest the kind of resources necessary to extract that oil will be difficult going forward. Yeah. Well, as I've said, the question of whether it's not what we will do now with the water situation. There should have been planning process in train for any process, any difficulties that we have in water going forward. So by removing your manager of Nawasa, by moving the persons with expertise would have caused some serious problem in terms of solution that you have going forward. And I remember during our period of time in government when we had water shortages in the north of St. George's, my own village, Happy Hill, didn't have any water. And we did spend enormous amount of resources to connect the Concord water system to the north of the country so that some part of St. George's got water. And today, these areas have been well served. 20, 30 years ago, there was no water there. We didn't have water to even, and during the dry season, it was difficult to get water to have a shower. But the planning was done. We invested in the desalination plant in Carriacou, for example, to be able to get water for the people there. And there were plans also for a desalination plant in the south, because we said, look, if for any reason that you have a serious shortage going forward, a desal plant would be clearly a good option to be able to have the necessary resources of water for the people. So I think what is needed is that the expertise, the experts in those areas at Nawasa will have to be in the best position to inform us. What's the potential? What is the problem? What are the potential opportunities available? How do you deal? But it seems like people not even getting persons within the sector to even communicate in a time of greatest need and problem with the water. The minister of where is the minister of water? Where is the minister of water whose own constituency, St. David's, one of the hardest area hit with the water situation? The south of St. George's, a major area of problems for water. And it seems to me those who are responsible for managing the system, are responsible for guiding the process, should be coming forward and asking for whatever help is needed to provide to deal with the problem or to reduce the problem that we now have existing in the country at this particular time. But there is little or no problem, as far as I understand it, in north of the country, in St. John's, St. Mark's, St. Patrick's, St. Andrews, generally speaking. The problem really, the major problem is parts of St. George's and St. David's. These are the real serious acute area of problems.
Dr. Mitchell, I also wanted to ask you about the G Cruise project. That's through the German government. That particular project where grant funding was provided to Grenada to deal with
yes,
this.
Yes, and we had that project in train. I mean, there was $125 million, and there were several contracts that were given. We left government 2 years now. We want to, and if these projects were dealt with in the way that we had envisioned, then certainly we may not have had the problem now. I understand, for example, that one of the contractors who won the project going forward, because he's perceived not to be a supporter of the government, I understand, and I hope my information is correct, that there are concerns that the project, while they awarded the contract, they want to ask for it to go over, to bid over for that particular project, which means that you're going to have further delays in dealing with that problem. $125 million we negotiated and got available for the country to improve the water supply in the south of St. George's. And this has been held up because the ineptness and the kind of lack of management of this present government and the effect that they're having on the country as a whole.
Indeed. And folks, let's just go back to the phone lines. And as soon as I say that, let me see here. Hello, good night. Hello, good night. Hello, good night. Okay, we lost that caller. 4407377. That's the number for you to call and get on to the inside. And let me see if I can. Okay, yeah, let's see if we can get this caller. Hello, good night. Hi, good night, caller.
Time by you just and then you just cut it off.
Yeah, I'm hearing you. Go ahead.
Yeah.
You're live. Go ahead.
Good night, Mitchell.
Yeah, go right
And
ahead.
what I want to ask Dr. Michel first, I have two questions. The first one is about the cricket system. It is almost 15 years. Dr. Mitchell and Sister Evelyn Pierce spoke about it. And plus, we last finance minister, not Mr. Bowen, the one from St. Paul's area up there, talk about the stadium. You didn't say you had a company from England to give us the floodlight. And knowing Dr. Mitchell as a sports fan, I can understand up to this day that we don't put light in the cricket stadium. And all of us hampering us from getting the games late in the night. You know, and we need that for the youth. We need it. And the second one, Doc, I just heard you spoke there, and I'm a very strong NNPite. But what I'm scared about, you say before you're leaving the party, and not leaving the party, but you won't be running again. But now, when you're speaking now, you're saying it clear to us. Just tell us, well, I'm not will be contesting the next. That's what we want to hear from your mouth, and you're not saying that. Tell us that, Doc. The country is falling apart, and we need NNP to get together, have a convention, so we can have whoever, we support them, because the country is falling apart. Thank you, sir.
The country is falling apart, and a convention of the NNP will solve the falling apart in the country. Is that you have a leadership of the NNP, you have a leadership team in the NNP available to be utilized. We're not governing, and the NNP will not, even if it has a convention, it will not be governing the country. So I don't understand that logic that being applied there at all. It seems to me that it's coming from a certain quarter. I mean, I have to say this for what it's. There will be a convention, and there will be decision taken at the convention. So I mean, that's the party's responsibility, and I don't know what is the problem related to this. Why is it some people just seem to be so preoccupied? We should be more concerned about what the problem in the country that is falling apart. With the convention of the NNP going to solve the water shortage in St. George's and in St. David's and the atmosphere of decay, the cost of living problem in the country. A convention at NNP will solve that. We are here speaking out about it. Those of us who are involved in the process of leadership, we're speaking out. And others we expect to speak out. Instead of spending a lot of time about convention, speak out on what's taking place in the country. This is what we must be doing. And because people are hurting, there is no business in the country at this time. Is a convention of the NNP will in fact change that. The convention will come, but the emphasis on convention and not what is taking place, it's frightening. And I must say it's coming from a selfish quota of elements, certain small elements within the new National Party might be the one pushing this, and the forces outside who are concentrated will not tell us what they're doing to the country, what the problems in the country and how to solve it. They seem to be absent-minded as far as solution is concerned. So the focus must be on NNP and convention. That to me, it seems to me that is the problem more than anything else that we're facing. So I am convinced that we are on the right path. The NNP was in government. The people wanted change. They got change. The change isn't working. The people will be looking forward to the new National Party going forward. And the time will come when the new National Party will, in fact, get back the reins of government and be able to deal with the problems of the country. And my friends, all of us should work together and try and do what we can to strengthen our party and not cause problems within the party at this particular time. There is no need for that.
Yes, indeed. And Doc, let me get someone on the WhatsApp here. Hello, good night.
Hello, good night to you, Mr. Sheldon. Good night to you, Dr. Mitchell.
Call up
I'm
for some
not
reason.
sure if you guys would have. Are you hearing me?
You're sounding very muffled for some reason. And
Are you hearing me better now?
I'm trying to hear you, but go right ahead. Go ahead, because we have limited time.
I got on the program a little bit late, so I'm not sure if you guys would have alluded to this before, but I wanted to know, Dr. Mitchell, what are your thoughts on the current situation with the rise in gun violence in Grenada and the current situation with what seems to be a hold on the issuing of firearms to law-abiding citizens? I think this situation is very frustrating, especially when you have a situation where complaints were made to the police department of serious situations, especially where you have incidences of, CID needing to be involved, threats being made, and you go to the police on several occasions, appropriately apply for a firearm, and over a process of almost 2 years now, you haven't gotten back, any word from the police department. Every time you go there, there's something they're saying about they're not sure how long the process is going to go, and they can't give you any word. I think such a situation.
All right, caller, because we're quickly running out of time, so we have to take it short. All right, thank you so
Yes,
very
yes,
much.
so just-
All right, bless you. All right, my brother. The caller was asking about the issue of crime. Caller, you may have to go back a bit in the program. Dr. Mitchell did address that particular issue. But they're asking as well about the issue of issuing firearm license, that there are persons who over 2 years now have had their applications inside, and for whatever reason, they're not even receiving a call, much less being granted those license. And if you have anything that you would like to say in relation to that particular
Well, the
issue.
Commissioner of Police is the one responsible for the issuing of gun license in the country. So I think the question should be more appropriately asked to the Minister of National Security and, of course, the Commissioner of Police. The Minister of National Security is the boss of the Commissioner of Police, so he certainly can find out from him any problem related to the issuance and non-issuance of firearms in the country as a whole. But I think what's something that should be more concerning us, the reports that I'm hearing of containers of guns coming to the country, and something was stopped at the customs and some person was let off, and the guns were then allowed into the country, and an enormous amount of guns. This rumor is all over the place. It's been reported by people involved with the customs and areas of government service and the security of the country. That worries me, and it may be not necessarily true, but it certainly is a serious concern, because we're hearing all kind of high-powered weapons and rifles being brought into the country. Grenada is not preparing for a war against a country. It seems to me that we are not attempting to have guns sold in the streets like how America has. Everybody has a right to buy a gun. That's not the laws of Grenada. So I wonder why we have to bring in massive weapons here. And I hope this is not true. But if it's not true, those in authority must clear the air, because it's a serious concern to the citizens of this country.
Yes, indeed. And Dr. Mitchell, we're quickly running out of time. In fact, we only have 2 minutes remaining. I'm sorry, callers. I'm very, very sorry, callers. We won't be able to entertain any more calls. Dr. Mitchell, we want to give you the opportunity to make your closing statements. And as we only have roughly about a minute and some remaining on the program for tonight. So we'd like to give you the opportunity to make your closing statements.
No, just to say that I value the opportunity to communicate with the citizens of this country on many of the matters that we spoke about tonight, and to say that the concerns of the citizens of this country about the economic situation in the country, lack of opportunities, and the cost of living is a serious concern. The fact that the crime and violence is increasing in the country and making people quite concerned about their own safety, and of course the issue of the health, the fact of the lack of basic medication and facilities at the community health clinics, and of course at the general hospital. I mean, you're talking life and death issues. That these are major concerns in the country as a whole, and clearly one needs to arrest these concerns very quickly, because it could have serious effect on the how people see our country and what appears to be taking place in the country as a whole. So that's something I am certainly concerned. I hope the government would start to explain to the people some of the concerns that are available, and to, for example, the cost of living, to take some measures that as the government of the NMP did when they appear to have had a problem with the cost of living, and to remove the VAT on sugar and other things that they have just done to ease up the pain, and the VAT on water, and some of the charges on electricity that we had reduced, and of course bring back the cap on the gasoline to help with the transport sector in the country as a whole. Otherwise, Sheldon, I said I enjoyed this evening program and look forward to being here again in not too distant future. Thank you all. Have a good night, everybody.
All right. Thank you so very much, Dr. Mitchell, and you have a wonderful night yourself. And folks, we've been speaking there with political leader of the New National Party, Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell. And I know we keep Doc way past his bedtime tonight. I know we've kept him way past his bedtime tonight. So, folks, I'll use something here that I see one of the listeners has put up. They say that we presently have a 5G government. Go, get, grab, grin, and then they're gone. So we're operating in this country with a 5G government. And I think Dr. Mitchell has clarified quite a lot of information for us tonight. You know, when he comes on, it's a lot of information that he's been able to clarify for us tonight. Remember, on Thursday at 10 o'clock, there's going to be the launch of the 40th anniversary of the New National Party, the series of activities that's going to be taking place this Thursday. And then 6:30 on Thursday at the Grenville Secondary School, Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell, along with Honorable Yolande Bain Hosford, oh Lord, I still say honorable because she's honorable, Honorable Emlyn Pear, and Honorable Kate Skeeter Lewis Peters. They will be there at the Grenville Secondary School from 6:30 on Thursday. So look forward to that one. So 10 o'clock in the morning on Thursday, and then 6:30 for those of you that can make it out there. So we are out. That's it for tonight. And whatever you say and do it safe and secure. I want to be speaking to and with you, and definitely not about you. My name is Sheldon Scott. I am out.
If you are a leader and you lead because of power, if you take away from the poor man and you leave them just to suffer, oh, if your life not in line with the will of God, you must earn the searchlight reward. If you want to make it into heaven, my friend, live right and serve the Lord. Oh, if you are a leader and you lead because of power, if you take away from the poor man and you leave them just to suffer, oh, if your life not in line with the will of God, you must earn the searchlight reward. If you want to make it into heaven,